wanted to welcome you here and thank you for watching any of my content on my channel. Mostly what I talk about is neurodivergence and more specifically challenges being an autistic person in our everyday world. And I did want to bring up a topic that came up recently. My last couple of videos, I interviewed my partner, and that went pretty well, I thought, with the exception of me not really being able to sit in a chair. So I had some challenges with my proprioception, my feeling the chair. I don't really do well when I sit in chairs. Most of my videos that I do are either me walking or sitting on the ground on a flat surface, cross-legged, because I just don't. When I sit in chairs, I can't sit still, and I just yeah, I wing around, and that kind of came up last time. So if you watched those, sorry about that. I hope it wasn't too distracting. I'm back sitting on the ground, and yeah, I feel like I can be more centered and feel connected. I kind of think that is something that to do with my autistic self. I just really feel like I need to be firmly placed and most of my body touching a surface so that I can feel like stable. But anyways, that's not the topic that I wanted to talk about today. The topic that I wanted to talk about today, continuing on from the last time a little bit, but it's more about relationships in general. So my last couple of videos, I was interviewing my partner, who is also autistic. He has a PDA profile, pathological demand avoidance, or persistent drive for autonomy. But I kind of wanted to expand the discussion and talk about relationships in general, because I don't think that I've really talked a lot about the challenges with this, and it is a core part of being an autistic person, having difficulties with relationships. And it has certainly been a component of my journey, and I feel like this probably does resonate with other people. I think it might particularly resonate with assigned female at birth people, just because from my perspective, the social dynamics of a female-oriented structure are much more nuanced and complicated than I have seen from the outside. I do grant that from assigned male at birth interactions. There's just a lot of subtle rules, and that I don't seem to be very good at. So I think it is important to talk about, because part of the autistic experience is feeling and trying to be connected with people, but feeling very disconnected, and that barrier being significant, and it can create challenges. So I have done pretty okay in one-on-one interactions. The only way that I seem to currently be able to meet new people is to pick an activity that I enjoy and find one person in that activity that I feel like I can connect with, and then do it that way. But I have to say that it has its limits, because the only time I would like interact with that person would be during that activity, which is fine, but there's like a barrier to like developing that into a more deeper connection, because it surrounds that particular activity, and if that particular activity changes, or like, you know, it's a scheduled thing or it's structured, it can you know, change the dynamic, change the relationship. I noticed a pattern after I looked back, and I, you know, found out I was autistic, and I look back on like way from early childhood. And it's interesting because this pattern that occurred um, occurred over the course of my life, like actually when I look back like multiple times. um, and it's a really difficult one. It's kind of difficult to talk about, actually, but I think it's important to talk about. I read a book called Autism in Heels, and the author uh, did outline um, this dynamic, and I think it's important, especially for females, but I think for, you know, um, for other people that are socially inclined, I think. Um, so I learned how to mask somewhat, and I do know how to mask somewhat, but like all autistic people that mask, it only lasts like for so long. So I'm thinking back to like some of my first experiences in elementary school, where I was kind of learning what it meant to interact socially. I was very much an observer. I kind of was very quiet, and I think looking back, I was probably mute. I remember myself not talking much, and I know a lot of teachers did comment on my lack of verbal interaction. So out at recess, which was like a really odd time for me because I didn't really know what to do, I would kind of watch kids, and I guess at some point I kind of learned, you know, uh, cognitively what to do there, and then I would try it out, and I would make friendships. I would make some connections, uh, and then inevitably I would do something odd. Um, I'm sure, like, I can remember this single instance where I had this friend, and often it was just like I kind of focused on like one person because I think that I felt like I could um, master that. I would make a connection with one particular person, and then I would be like really, you know, trying to interact with that one person. And there was this one girl that I lived near, and we became friends, and our parents kind of like, you know, uh, did play dates and things like that. I would go over her house, she would come over mine. And there was this like one time where I had spent quite a um, long day, and I was tired, and she was like talking to me and interacting with me, and I had used this thing that I guess it was like a script. I mean, now I think it was a script. I used this thing that my father used to do with me when he was tired, and he would just kind of like when somebody was talking and he was communicating that he was not really wanting to continue, he'd be like, uh-huh, mm-hmm. So, and she would ask me questions, and I would just, uh-huh, mm-hmm. And at the time I thought it was like the appropriate way to communicate. I'm tired, and I'm not, and I think, you know, we need to like rest our a verbal conversation. um because that's like literally what I knew. I took something from another context and I used it in this interaction. And I did this like, and when I think back, I used, because I didn't see the difference between adult content conversations and kid content conversations. I never really saw inequality in all those things. So I figured you could just say, adults would say things or use phrases, and I could say them to my friends. That did not go over well. It did not go over well. I pretty much, the play dates kind of petered out very quickly after that, and that person kind of, disappeared from my life. Fast forward like middle school years, I finally was able to like, get some friends. I had one person in particular again that I like um, interacted with most. They had some friends, so we were kind of like this group. And to this day, I still have no idea what particular thing, but it probably was over the course of time. My mask was like dropping during social interactions with this particular person, and sort of right around that age, middle school age, is where those social dynamics become like really important, like navigating that stuff. Everybody kind of has crappy middle school years at like, the ages between 11 and I don't know, 15 are just like just kind of, I don't know if anybody that gets out of them unscathed, but this particular thing that happened um, ended up happening like multiple times in my life, and it's really I've only understood it until recently, and I honestly still don't intuitively understand it. I just cognitively understand it. But um, I must have been dropping my mask. And when I drop my mask, I speak pretty logically and directly and factually. And and I think my biggest thing then, because I see it in my son a bit, but in his case, because he's male presenting, I think it's more accepted. I would correct information that wasn't factual. Like if a friend said something, I would be like, actually, it's more like, and it, I can see how at now looking back, maybe people thought that I was like being pretentious or trying to be better than or something. And now I know that that wasn't what I was doing. I was just trying to share information because I didn't want people to be going around saying inaccurate things, because I thought that they would feel bad if they found out that they weren't correct about something, because I knew that I would feel bad if I was speaking things factually and then later on that I found out that I wasn't correct. I would, in my head, I would feel like I had to go back and tell every person that I told the inaccurate thing to and correct it, so that they would like have the correct information, that I would be responsible for putting not factual information out there. And that is like definitely not something that I like to do. So anyways, going back to the social situation, when that was repeating happening, that one person that I kind of had mostly was relying on for that social connection, ended up like getting really mad at me, but not really telling me that, because that's not socially acceptable. They just started targeting me. And then they started telling everybody that they were connected with bad things about me, until like I had a whole crew of the people that I used to be friends with, just flipping and turning against me. And then they were my main tormentors for years. For like 5 years, those people continuously followed me around and daily harassed me. It was like really terrible, and it is a source of a lot of trauma. um, from my life from then on. Oh my gosh, there's a hummingbird. Sorry. Wow, I thought they were all gone. I feel bad I don't have the proper sugar for them. Late hummingbird. Anyways, sorry about that. A bit of a distraction, but yeah, I can't help it. That was quite amazing. Anyways, um, so yeah, that dynamic where people turned against me in like a group dynamic. Uh, and then kind of like, I eventually like moved away from classes from those people because I was highly intellectually driven and those people weren't intellectually driven, so they kind of were in the main course classes and I went into the advanced placement classes. And when I was there, I did find like-minded people and was able to make more even level connections, or like similar connections, and that lasted throughout like the last parts of my high school. But then when I went away to college, it's interesting because like the same dynamic happened again, and I didn't like get it from middle school. I didn't apply those things um, that I had happened in middle school to college because in my head it was like a different entirely situation. I'm just gonna pause so that I can deal with the dog. So yeah, in my head, the people that I met in college, it was a different setting. It was a different dynamic. I didn't relate it to what happened earlier. And so the same thing kind of happened. I got a roommate. I made friends. They had friends. So like I kind of had like a group of friends. And then the same thing happened where I was like logically pointing out information that I thought was relevant in conversations, living with people that, around the clock. Obviously, you cannot mask. I can't mask to that level. So my mask was dropping at times. And especially surrounding things like schedule and like structure and stuff. I'm like still to this day like highly structured with my wake up time, my bedtime, and when I do things. And it was not a really awesome experience, I'm sure, for the other person that I was rooming with, because they wanted to stay up later and I wanted to go to bed at 10 p.m. Because I had early morning classes and I was not a fun party college student, because that was not what I was there for. I was there to get an education and to learn, and it's not like you're like, oh, you're like so disciplined and good and like like a goody two shoes type. No, I literally was like calculating the cost of the classes and the time that I spent, and I knew that you know, if I didn't go to the class or I didn't participate or if I didn't, I was like wasting my money. It was really just a basically logically driven decision on my part. And yeah, I think a lot of people at the time were more thinking like this was their time to break free, this is their time to like explore. And I was not in that mindset. I was not in the mindset of like this is the time to like have fun or anything like that. I was like, this is the time that I will learn things that I want to learn, and I'm paying for it. So yeah, it was again the same dynamic happened where like I made one friend. I at some point became unmasked. Specifically, I don't know how, it was probably accumulation of things, and then triangulation and like smear campaign, and like blacklisted. I ended up having to move off campus and find my own place because it was really that bad. So yeah, and honestly, when I launched into the working world, um, I would see that dynamic sort of playing out again. So I kind of like just really kept to myself. I didn't make friends at work, um, because I just didn't want that triangulation to happen. And it like, it's almost like literally like I couldn't stop it from happening. It would occur even like without me trying, I feel like. So I think this is like hugely challenging for autistic people. In my current uh, daily life, I have very few friends. It's honestly not possible really as much as I would like it to be, because the energy required to put into that effort at this point is more than I have, as I kind of teeter on the edge of, burnout and not. So, and being a parent, a single parent is majority of the time a single parent. Uh, it's got its own, challenges, and that's like a highly important thing for me anyways. But um I feel like this video is more personal than maybe I usually do. But I think it's important because this is a dynamic that is impacting autistic people, and it's the isolation can be significant, and it's I really do think it's a component of why autistic people do statistically die so young. Um, and I'm still kind of trying to figure out how to navigate this. I have chosen now to understand that, like, trying to mask is like almost not really entirely possible for me anymore. So the only way that I will be able to, and obviously the only way that I'm able to make connections and relationships based on who I can make relationship connections with are neurodivergent, mostly autistic people. I find ADHD people um, quite fun and quite entertaining, and I do enjoy time with them. But it tends to be that my need for structure and like predictability does tend to kind of require another person that is at least has some component of that. So I am still trying to figure it out. I find that, like, mainly by my volunteering efforts, my community efforts with neurodivergent causes seems to be helpful. But I honestly haven't cracked the code. I haven't figured it out, and I don't feel like being alone is terribly bad for me. I have a lot of special interests that I engage with, but it would be nice to kind of have more of a choice of it. I think my main coping strategy has been to kind of, I don't want to say trick myself, but a little bit like, I'm spending this time alone because I want to, and like choosing some interests that I want to explore so that it feels very nourishing and recharging for me. And it is. But yeah, it's like, I think we as humans really do need social connections, and it is important to have those. And yeah, it's such a struggle. It's such a struggle. And I see, um, you know, as my kids are growing and learning, they're doing so much better than I ever did as a kid. And I think one of the reasons is because they are they know who they are from the start. They're not trying to uh, fit in that way. So I think it's super helpful, and I think it's really important for us to, as much as we can, in environments that we can, be unmasked so that we do find the people that actually do match up with us, because the other route just has never worked for me. It's never worked out. So yeah, I wanted to like talk about that. I want to dialogue about this relationships, and because I think there are a lot of people, a lot of you out there that are probably in the same boat that I am in, and I just want to let you know that I get it. Yeah, it's like not ideal. It's not ideal. Being a late diagnosed autistic person uh, is got a lot of challenges that we don't recognize. Uh, a lot of us are highly independent because we've had to be, highly intelligent and like focused and driven because we've had to be. And yeah, it does seem sometimes from the outside when we show up in workplaces and even like other areas where you may be around other people in community events, or if you can do that, or just anything you participate in, that we're doing well, that we're doing okay. And I think that there's a lot of us out there that are doing fairly okay, and some not really doing okay at all. And yeah, I just want to express that, like, I get it. Um, I feel like sometimes if I was started off life as, you know, an autistic presenting person, or felt comfortable with that, I would have built different skills that I'm sort of really learning right now. And it's like baby steps. And I'm glad that I am, and I don't regret any of the time that I'm learning about myself. I really do value this as an experience, but it's like I I sometimes feel like I am like a preschooler just trying to learn all of those social things again. It's it's a very interesting uh, process. So I don't I don't know if I really have any recommendations except for what I was just try to find people that are autistic and try to find a community, because I think without that, I think it's really really isolating. Um, so I just want to say, mainly, I see you. Thank you for watching. I know that sometimes things like this are the only way that we can really connect with other people. I feel like I have gained so much from other autistic people out there on the internet, to see myself reflected back from somebody else, to know that like I'm not alone in these challenges. And I think that's a really important thing. And I just wanted to say thank you for anybody that comes here and that sees it. And even if you don't comment, I'm glad you came. And if you do, I really try to uh, respond to everybody that does, because I do care about you out there. And thanks for watching.